Recently, Francesca Fiorentini asked us at TYT to take her podcast, Habituation Room, off the network, and we happily agreed to that. And today, I'm going a little further, and I'm going to take Francesca off the network entirely.
In this next clip, we've got Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks finally taking a stand against the radical fringe of the far left by removing Francesca Fiorentini from the network. In this video, I'm breaking down why this might be the smartest move Cenk has made in a long time, and how Francesca and the far left have completely lost the plot on trans issues. We're now at the point where defending basic truth gets you labeled a fascist. Let's get into it.
So you won't see her on any of the TYT shows going forward. So I want you guys to know why I'm doing that and how this whole situation isn't really about Francesca. It's about TYT, our community, and what we stand for. And so we're for open minds and open hearts. And so I want all of you to know that, and I want to build a community that believes in that and invites people in that believe in the same things. And by the way, if you don't believe in the same things and you say, no, I have a strict ideology and I have no open mind about that, no problem. There are tons of shows out there for you guys.
Open minds, open hearts. Sounds like a Hallmark movie tagline. Until you realize it's actually a warning to the left. Cenk is drawing a line in the sand. If you're here to enforce ideological purity instead of engaging in real debate, then it's time for you to go. Take a seat at the table with the ladies on The View, or should I say the spew.
So first of all, we've had some disagreements, I certainly have, with some of the far left, but I think they've been relatively small. But if you think that they've been large, no problem. So they've been around the issue of crime. Did crime rise between 2019 and 2023? Well, that's a fact, it did. But it's okay, we could have different interpretations of it, that's not an issue at all. We certainly are against police abuse and we've fought against it. I would argue at least as much as any show on the planet and perhaps a lot more. And I take great pride that Benjamin Crump, among others, said that Trayvon Martin would not have gotten anywhere near the national coverage that he did if it wasn't for the Young Turks. So nevertheless, we could have disagreements about specific policy issues, and we do on slogans and framing, etc. For example, defund the police, Latinx. These are normal disagreements within any community. And I certainly would never want to shut that down because we're, again, for open minds. And of course, we've had some disagreements on the issue of transgender rights. Let me just say quickly what my position is, because a lot of people outside of the network have been misleading you about this. So I'm for 100% constitutional rights for transgender Americans because why? They're Americans, just like the rest of us, and they should have the same exact rights as us. They should be protected in bathrooms. They should definitely be allowed to serve in the military. And I happen to think that they should be allowed to play, transgender girls should be allowed to play in girls' sports in high school. Now, my position on that is not overall popular in the country. I understand that, and I have a strategy for hopefully how to win on that in the long run. But I don't believe that they should be mandated to play in college and professional level. I think the league should get to make those decisions on their own. I think that that is a small disagreement. Obviously, others think that's a giant disagreement, but that's, again, not the issue here. I think what the issue is when others, among the issues, is when others say,
Cenk lays out what should be a perfectly reasonable, nuanced stance. Now, I definitely don't agree with him on most of it, but that's besides the point. He supports trans rights, supports trans people in the military, supports them playing in sports, and supports protections against discrimination, which, to be fair, is the only part I do agree with. But here's what that tells you, even though he's on board with 98% of the trans rights agenda, it's still not enough. Francesca and the far left absolutely lose their minds. They go full meltdown. That's how insane things have gotten. If you're not 100% in lockstep, you're the enemy.
Only my opinion is the correct one, the moral one. Everyone who disagrees with me is unintelligent, immoral, collaborator, etc. Well, we'll get to the specifics on Francesca in a second. I'm saying that generally. And that they speak for the left. Well, let's find out if they do speak for the left. This is a little bit of Francesca, a little bit of Emma Vigeland from Majority Report, and spliced in is the actual facts about what the American people think, and interestingly, what Democratic voters think. First, let's watch this.
I'm a big Messi fan, but let me just explain this.
Answer my question. Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American women's national team?
You're using the wrong pronoun
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate in women's sports.
Your argument is really bad on this, and you're out of your depth. You're correct that trans women should be able to compete in women's sports, but your argument for it is just scientifically and factually incorrect. I'm actually not bad about this. I'm 100% right on this. I don't give a the scientific explanations. People, if they identify as a woman, get to compete in sports. If that's not fair in the short term for a variety of little competitions, I don't give a
And I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%. You rarely get 79% of the country to agree on anything.
Because the societal interest of including trans people in society trumps stupid competition. Full stop. So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
You'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy women's football forever. You'd let Usain Bolt.
It'd be very difficult
hang on,
to get a ticket, which would suck.
I want to do a little checklist here. You'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team?
Yes.
Okay. You would let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing team?
Opposing them in women's sports. You get 67% of Democrats, so 2/3 there. You get 64% of independents, so you get about 2/3 there.
So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
This is where Francesca and the lunatic left completely lose the plot. They openly say they don't care about the science. They don't care about the safety of women in sports. According to their logic, if a biological man wants to endanger women in competition, that should be allowed because that man is living his truth. That's not progress, that's delusion. And honestly, women like Francesca who think this way shouldn't even have a platform. If someone like that worked for me, I'd fire them, not for their politics, but for their lack of judgment and outright incompetence.
Generally speaking, if you want to say that you're right about something, sure, everybody has their own opinions and it's their opinions. That's why they think that they're right. It's another thing to say that you speak for the left. As you just saw there, 67% of Democrats have a position that is actually to the right of mine. I say that trans girls should be allowed to play in girls' sports in high school. 67% of Democrats say no, not allowed in any women's sports. So I'll work on my Democratic brothers and sisters, and I'll try to get them to my position on that. Nothing wrong with disagreements. And if Emma, Francesca, and others can convince 79% of the nation that is opposed to that to come over to that side, fantastic, happy to have it, okay? So I think where the issue comes in is when things get personal. So we got 3 rules, generally speaking, on air here at TYT that are relatively bright lines. So one is, and I say relative, I'll explain that in a second. One is no lying, 2 is no threats of physical violence, and number 3 is don't denigrate personally the other hosts in the network over and over and over again. And I say relatively bright lines because it should be relatively easy to follow, but I get that people have disagreements about, hey, what's a lie? Are what they say about crime stats a lie or not? No, I'm not gonna nitpick that. And we get into heated debates from time to time, me and Ben Glebe in the past, me, Ben Mankiewicz, me, Michael Schur, etc. And I love those debates. And somebody might cross the line and say something they shouldn't know, but we usually hug it out. And so I'm not nitpicking here. What we're looking for is, hey, are we all rowing generally in the same direction, or are some of us drilling holes in the boat? And so are you doing it over and over again on purpose to try to create an issue? Or even if you're not trying to do it, you are creating an issue by constantly attacking our own. And I have applied this 2 other times, which I'll tell you about in a minute. This all started, unfortunately, when I went on Francesca's show and we had what seemed like a normal conversation and debate about this issue until it made a turn. And this is part of the turn. Let me show you.
This is a bombshell. 2/3 of Democrats don't support trans athletes competing in women's sports. So who exactly are Francesca and the far left speaking for? Certainly not the majority. Maybe just the activist group chat, who knows? And here's the kicker, Francesca broke all 3 core rules at the Young Turks. No lies, no threats, and no drilling holes in the boat. Cenk is the founder of TYT, and it's his ship, and Cenk is the captain. If you want to argue about which direction we're sailing, that's fair game, But if you start punching holes in the hull and screaming bigot at the guy steering the ship, then guess what? You're off the boat.
I'm reminded of the book by I think his name is Michael Schneider on tyranny, and he wrote it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say my strategy will protect us is he has this chapter. I'm going to bring it up. The first part of it called "Do Not Obey in Advance," and he writes most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech because I'm going to do it for you, or you don't have to come to me.
Down. Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. So you should stop with your stupid opinion. And because you're implicating me.
I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get
but I can show you more clips,
to agree with us on things we believe in and we've always believed in. And you go back to scratching their back.
At least the trains will run on time.
The train's running on time, presumably a reference to Germany. I'm the collaborator, and I'm scratching the right wing's back by having my opinion. The opinion I've always had, an opinion I've had for years, and you guys have seen for years on the show. But if you don't agree with Francesca in that particular case and some other folks in the extreme left, well, you're not allowed to have that opinion. That is immoral by definition.
Imagine being called a collaborator with fascism just because you think sports policies should be decided by leagues, not by unhinged activists. And the person saying that to you, someone who works for you. It's insane. But credit where it's due. Cenk is doing something rare in left-wing media. He's standing up to his own side. That takes guts. That takes clarity, and honestly, it's the only path forward if the left wants to stop hemorrhaging normal, everyday people. I just wish he'd go a little further, fully jump into reality. Enough toe dipping, it's time to get honest. And if you're tired of watching media personalities bow to the mob, smash that like button, subscribe for more real talk, and stick around as we keep calling out the crazy and exposing all your favorite leftist loonies.